of sanity in this society is a certain level of alienation. The cost of sanity
So that was a little snippet from a song I put out a while ago, a few years ago, called Sanity. But it's a cut up of Terence McKenna and the cost of sanity in this society is a certain level of alienation. Are you feeling alienated by society? Because I sure am. Monday, December 16th, 18th, 19th, whatever. I can't read that. What are you doing? What's my name? What's my name again? Okay. 16th. On the approach to the holidays. Holiday. It's going to be all right. I think helping people is very important. Helping the ones you love, obviously. But there is this thing, isn't there? There's like, okay, what is it? What is this thing? You know, what is this thing that drives a man to fix things that really, I mean, how can I fix something else, somebody else, if I can't fix me? See, there it is, right there. Can't fix me. Yes, I can. I've been trying to fix me for many years, like fixing a sort of like human role, a human experience role. Like, this is who I am. This is clearly who I am. I'm a father. I'm a son. I'm a brother. I'm a husband. I'm a friend. I mean, these are all things that are like the many multifaceted aspects of me, and how to fit that into a society when I feel completely alienated to that society. Not very good lighting this morning, is it? Thank goodness. I'm half awake, half asleep. Got the heater on this morning because it's freezing cold. It's not freezing cold, really. I'm in California. But I've been talking to people all over the place and, just chatting it up. Come chat me up. So what did Terence McKenna mean, really? The cost of sanity. There are parameters, aren't there? I mean, going to see the doctor, right? This is a good one. You go see the doctor and he'll find something if you want. And I mean, certainly here, I mean, not so much necessarily in my birthplace country, but here for sure. You go in to see the doctor, you say, I'm not feeling good. Well, they'll find something and they'll write you a prescription for a pill, or they'll get you to go, oh my gosh, it's serious, go into hospital, or, oh, you have to go to the ER. There's all these things. But why? Because it puts you in their payola scheme. Whatever that payola scheme is, they'll put you in it. I mean, pharmacia has been blamed, the pharmacy industry, but the whole medical insurance industry is corrupt and fucked. I mean, it's really pissing me off, but that's because I've got people who I've had to stop helping because they're in terrible cases of addiction and are sick on top of the addiction, and they need their, oh my god, a giant heron just flew past. Amazing. The birds. um yeah, I mean, now I have an addiction, I'll admit. This is my addiction. There you go. I have an addiction. I'm cutting it back as far as I can. I've got it to the lowest dose, but I am taking nicotine into my body because since I was a child, I've always had nicotine in my life. I did for a short while. I mean, many times I've given up, but it's like because it's legally, and I hated to get into this argument with a friend of mine, but because it's legally available, I'm not going to go through the whole withdrawal and depression and all that. I'm not going to go through that. I'm going to taper off as best I can, and hopefully, one day I'll not be taking nicotine into my body. But that's my choice, right? But I'm dealing with people who are making active choices to stay on things that are doing them harm and are illegal. So the legality, even though I'm one of those crazy anarchist pacifists who believe that we should have complete freedom of choice, if you're trying to play the game, there you go, human experience. If you're trying to be within society's constraints, then you've got to be a little guarded about who you tell and who you don't tell about your legal and illegal activity, taking your addicted substance, whatever that might be. Now, a lot of people are coming forward and talking about their ayahuasca trip or their opening up with, mushrooms, magic mushrooms, or, the advantages of being on an organic drug that can open your doors of perception. Whether or not that's how you or other people got into their addiction, I don't know. I mean, and it's up to you. I mean, that's freedom of choice. But I'm actually dealing with a very close person next to me, somebody I have to deal with on a daily basis or almost daily basis, and their addiction is more in the chemical realm. And that's a problem because those chemicals over time, even in a controlled addict's dosage, those chemicals over time are twisting their brain and making them irrational in many ways, not just because they desperately need their fix, which is a smaller dose. I mean, I'm reading about micro dosing. Well, micro dosing with non-chemical versions, or doing it under a supervised, and I mean very supervised, condition, is very different from what I'm talking about. I'm talking about somebody who's been 30 years addicted to the same chemical in varying degrees, but has kept it because they've had to comply with the system at a very low level. I'm talking about an opioid addict. And it's difficult, really, because the pain they're in somewhat masked is masked by their addiction. So is the drug doing good or is it not, is never going to be found out, because they can't give it up, because they're frightened they're going to be in more pain than they're in, which is a very limited amount of pain because of the addiction. It's such a conundrum. And you know, there is a part of me that would be like wholly empathetic, but there's the rub. That empathy can be manipulated by an addict because their brain is desperate and they're facing a future where their addiction is going to be taken away from them, rather than them choose to take their own addiction away. Now, I have a really close friend who's a brilliant and amazing man, and he had his hand forced. He was very addicted to alcohol, which is completely legal, and he was drunk a lot of the time, and he made some very rash decisions whilst drunk, and his spouse said, you either give it up or you give me up. And I thought at the time, geez, that's not much of a relationship. What a controller. But I was in the wrong frame of mind. She was correct. She was perfectly correct, because it was doing him harm. Now, I have nothing but admiration for this man. He is not only a genius, he also went through an awful experience of having a stroke, a mini stroke. And it dulled his senses in areas which he loved. I mean, not much, but enough. And so he had to deal with that on top of fighting his addiction, in order to save his marriage and his children. So I have nothing but admiration for this man. And I do wish that the other person I'm talking about with the opioids, I wish they had had that strength, but they don't. And now I'm in a position where I'm being forced to step away, because I'm more of an enabler than I am a help. At a certain point, when you're helping somebody who's doing self-harm, you have to step away, because you can clearly see it's self-harm, and they can clearly blame you for that self-harm. And that's where, you know, I turn to people like the, you know, the McKenna thing where it says, you know, the cost of sanity. Well, in order to stay sane, I have to stay away from people who are completely and utterly living a fantasy driven life of addiction that they can only defend by being mean and vindictive. Yeah, it eventually turns to that. And that abuse, it turns into, wow, they're abusing me and I'm trying to help them. And then you start to feel like you're being attacked, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm not being attacked. I put myself in the fray. And you have to back away from the fray and just go, okay, what's the best thing I can do? And the best thing I can do is walk away. And so, you know, you distance yourself, but you still have to be a witness, because you can still see, you can still feel, you can still sense their despair. It's a tough one, toughie, but these are tough times, especially in a society that has given you more rules and regulations than you can actually shake a stick at. These rules and regulations need to be defied, but they can only be defied if you're in a healthy position yourself. in a healthy relationship with others and in a healthy relationship with life. And, other friends of mine have been, using the buzzwords, health is wealth. Well, they're correct. They're absolutely correct. Health is wealth. Mental, emotional, physical, spiritual health. These things have to be kept in balance. You have to work within yourself and then go out into the world. So, it's, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to keep this fairly short, and I might play it with a little bit more of this bouncy, dancey song that I put together for Terence McKenna's Sanity. And there you go. I'll play this out. I love you, and I'm going to post this because I am the nomad, and it doesn't mean anything really. I'm just the nomad. I'm trying to stay sane in my own version of sanity. All right. I love you. Bye.
The cost of sanity in this society is a certain level of alienation.
Stay kind. Believe in love. It's unconditional.